approving a protocol, really interesting protocol, using this microdialysis to test cortisol levels. One of our investigators wants to test it in women, black women and white women. I had to go and look at like what was leaked as far as the banned words that DOGE is just like Control F searching for. So I was trying to help her like suggest wording. I had suggested like ethnicity or ancestry instead of race.
James Welch is caught on our hidden camera talking about manipulating language to circumvent government oversight, specifically DOGE oversight.
Our grants aren't getting canceled. We're intramural, so we get to do basically whatever we approve. We can do it. We have the money.
Certain experiments happening within the walls of NIH's own buildings. They can do basically anything as long as they have the money.
My mom told me today not to show anybody because I've been buying guns. They won't let me close enough to these people.
The NIH genetic counselor within the NIH tells us on hidden camera that his mother told him not to shoot anybody.
Well, why not be prepared? I just want to go down like a what are your views on it? You're asking me a lot of questions. I have not got a chance to ask your questions. I was just thinking it'd be funny if you were like a government spy who's like, what are you planning, James?
I'm James O'Keefe. You work with the NIH. This is you on camera. I heard you had a really bad day. You're about to have a worse day. I'm James O'Keefe here outside Washington, D.C., standing outside the headquarters of the National Institute of Health, NIH. It's within this building that a man named James Welch works. He's the genetic counselor and research coordinator for NDDK. That's National Institute of Diabetes and Digestive and Kidney Diseases. It appears in this undercover video that Welch and the PI, that's principal investigator he's working with, his counseling, are seeking allowance on a clinical trial regarding using microdialysis to test cortisol levels in black and white women for research.
I work both with the patients and then also with like the PIs, the principal investigators writing their studies, running their studies. For our institute, I'm one of the people who approves protocols, you know, like, oh, this is a good study. Like yesterday, I was approving a protocol, really interesting protocol, using this microdialysis to test cortisol levels. One of our investigators wants to test it in women, black women and white women. People, it's stratified by whether you have metabolic dysfunction and whether you're African American or a white woman.
Where things get interesting is the political bias that James Welch, genetics counselor, appears to be injecting into the process to circumvent government oversight, specifically DOGE oversight. He specifically calls out DOGE, says that DOGE is cutting grants for research that includes certain key words.
There are banned words that they're cutting grants for any research that has. Two of the words are women and female. Cutting grants for any of the DEI research. Some of the suggestions are adult girl, XX. Like, how do you can't, there's no way around that. Woman isn't banned, male, men isn't banned.
Here, the NIH counselor, James Welch, is coaching the applicant to change the wording of this application within NIH to avoid triggering what James Welch thinks is some type of algorithm intentionally guiding the application process within NIH to circumvent government oversight. The problem, of course, with manipulating the language is this has nothing to do with science or technical excellence.
So I was trying to help her like suggest wording. Like we approved it, but we're like, maybe because our grants aren't getting canceled. We're intramural, so we get to do basically whatever we approve. We can do it. We have the money.
Intramural research refers to certain experiments happening within the walls of NIH's own buildings. Now, James Welch says they can do basically anything as long as they have the money if it's intramural.
She's taking out the stratifying by race, and I'm like, yeah. So I had to go and look at like what was leaked as far as the banned words that DOGE is just like Control F searching for, and like figure out what they suggest that she use.
We spoke with a senior official in the administration regarding DOGE. They've told us there's no real policy there except general prohibitions on racial preferences. We haven't been able to find or ascertain anything specifically regarding racial preferences in health. So this official within NIH appears to be conjuring this up or creating this algorithm in his own mind. Remember, the NIH is an executive branch agency. It's the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. This is an executive branch agency. And some say here he's circumventing the will of President Trump and Robert F. Kennedy. After experiencing 4 years of a volatile economy, America is facing record inflation and a massive threat to the U.S. dollar. Experts are warning the stock market could crash and we could be facing a recession. In these uncertain times, I recommend gold to my audience, and I trust Fisher Capital as my official gold partner. Not only have my friends at Fisher delivered hundreds of millions of dollars in gold to their clients, they have also proven to be vigilant and right on the front line, supporting causes that make our country stronger and better. Fisher Capital is the largest corporate partner for Turning Point USA. Close friends of OMG, we appear at their events every December, and continues to make sure the new administration is successful. Based on my experience and client testimonials, the team at Fisher Capital consists of some of the most caring and compassionate individuals in finance today. And when you click the link, you will qualify for an exclusive offer only available to my listeners, where you can get up to $20,000 of free silver with your qualifying purchase. When you speak with Fisher, make sure to mention that James O'Keefe sent you. Our portfolios are too important to trust to stocks and bonds alone. Protect yourself with gold today and get it from Fisher Capital. Go to FisherOMG.com. That's FisherOMG.com, FisherOMG.com. Referencing his conversations with this principal investigator at NIH, he says that they are changing the words from race in the application to ancestry. Of course, the problem with that is a matter of science. This was a racial study.
I'm like, just make it not the primary objective, make it a secondary objective, and change the word race to ancestry. I had suggested like ethnicity or ancestry instead of race.
Ancestry is not a criteria in the clinical research protocol, so that change that Welch is proposing with his PI is misleading. Some would say unethical. Some might even call it a violation of the Hatch Act because it's introducing bias and political bias in what should be science.
Any discussion of side effects is like, oh, you're RFK Jr. You know what I mean? It's like, no, these things are affecting the body.
Yeah.
Obviously.
How do you feel about him taking over?
His family will tell you he's the weird one.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this NIH official who doesn't hide his disdain for DOGE also doesn't hide his disdain for his boss, Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
You know how he was always the weird cousin?
Yeah.
He's the weird cousin.
Mm-hmm.
The Kennedys are for him. They'll tell you that he's the weird. He's not the guy you put in charge of anything.
He also says they should pull down President Trump's portrait within NIH and replace it with Russian President Putin's face.
They put up portraits of Trump, Vance, and RFK in the clinical center. Somebody tore them down immediately. Then they hung them on the other side of the building near the Starbucks up above a TV, so they're too high for people to get to.
Yeah.
And so somebody like printed out rapist with an arrow and posted it next to Trump. And I was thinking that I should print out a portrait of Putin and put it upstream of Trump.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's clearly like Trump, man. It's like this like hierarchy.
How do you feel about with what DOGE is doing and with the job cuts and everything?
Yeah, so at NIH, it's going to be 1,200, which is devastating. I mean, it's crazy to fire 300 people, but it's like, it only makes sense if they're doing whatever Putin wants. You know, it's just, it seems to be very like against, it's just against the best interests of our country.
The NIH genetic counselor within the NIH tells us on hidden camera that his mother told him not to shoot anybody, and Welch told our undercover journalist, quote, "They won't let me close enough to these fucking people at work at NIH."
Has anyone retaliated? Any plans on retaliating?
I appreciate that concept, and I tend to agree. My mom told me today not to shoot anybody because I've been buying guns. But I'm like, they won't let me close enough to these people.
Why are you buying guns?
Just thinking about like worst case scenarios and being like, well, why not be prepared? You know what I mean? I just want to go down like a bitch.
In recent months, many of our fellow Americans experienced unprecedented natural disasters and damaged infrastructure, making access to healthcare essentials impossible at the very moment it was needed. When disaster strikes, being prepared is your best defense. And now I'm excited to share with you the brand new Field Emergency Kit from our friends at the Wellness Company. The ultimate survival kit for any situation where medical help is not an option. Inside this rugged, waterproof case, you'll find essential medications that cover over 60 conditions that you can encounter, along with a detailed 85-page doctor-written guidebook. This ultimate kit includes amoxicillin, an essential for treating bacterial infections, and antivirals and antiparasitics like hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin, medications that are critical in situations where you're exposed to respiratory viruses or parasites. And for those facing potentially life-threatening allergic reactions, the field kit includes epinephrine, the generic EpiPen, along with vital first aid supplies such as tourniquet and wound and burn treatments. Natural disasters are happening at record rates, so I urge everyone to get the ultimate field emergency kit from our friends and supporters at the Wellness Company by going to twc.health/OMG, twc.health/OMG, that's twc.health/OMG. And now you can save 15% just by using code OMG at checkout. So reporting outside this NIH facility in Bethesda, Maryland, this is James O'Keefe with OMG. If you're on the inside of these institutions who want to hear from you, we'll protect you, we'll tell your stories. It's important to have transparency and oversight within government, to reform the government. We want accountability. And without accountability, our notion of freedom is just an illusion. Stay tuned.